Imagine waking up on your honeymoon, and your husband is just gone. No note, no body, just 2 small bloodstains on the bedsheet, and a crew member who found you asleep in a hallway at 5 a.m. This is not a movie. This happened. Her name is Jennifer. His name is George. July 5th, 2005. A 16-year-old girl named Emily opens her curtains on Deck 7 of a Royal Caribbean ship. She expects sunshine. She expects the blue Aegean Sea. Instead, she sees blood. A lot of it. Smeared across a white lifeboat canopy like someone landed there and tried to hold on. There is more blood near the edge, as if fingers slipped and a body slid into the water. Emily screams for help. Other passengers come out of their cabins. They see the same thing. Within hours, the entire ship knows something terrible has happened. But no one yet knows that a young husband named George Smith has vanished from cabin 962. Let me tell you about George. He grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut. His father owned a small liquor store. George was the kind of son who called his mom every Sunday. He graduated from Babson College with a business degree. He worked as a data analyst in Boston. But his heart always belonged to home. He returned to help his father run the store. He wanted his parents to retire one day. That was the kind of man George was. Loyal, gentle, family first. In 2002, George went to a reunion and met Jennifer. She was a teacher. Bright. Warm. The kind of person who made a room feel safer just by being in it. They fell in love the way people do when they have no idea that time is borrowed. 3 years later, on an oceanfront lawn in Newport, Rhode Island, they promised each other forever. The sun was setting. Everyone cried. It was the kind of wedding you remember for the rest of your life. For their honeymoon, they chose a 12-day Mediterranean cruise. Barcelona, the French Riviera, Italy, and finally, the Aegean Sea. They were so happy. You can see it in their photos. Jennifer laughing, George's arm around her. 2 people who thought they had a lifetime together. On board, they made friends quickly. A young man from California named Josh Askin. Funny. Easy to talk to. George liked him immediately. That night, they went to the ship's casino. George played craps. Jennifer played poker. They lost money but did not care. It was their honeymoon. Everything felt easy. The casino closed at 2:30 a.m. Security cameras captured George walking out. That was the last time he was seen alive. What happened next is a nightmare pieced together from fragments. At 3:30 a.m., Jennifer stumbled out of the disco. She was drunk. Too drunk. A janitor helped her to an elevator, but instead of going to her cabin, she walked the wrong way down the hall. Crew members later found her asleep on the floor, far from her room. They used a wheelchair to bring her back at 4:52 a.m. When they opened the door to cabin 962, George was not there. The balcony curtains were pulled tight. Too tight. Like someone wanted to hide something. Meanwhile, in the cabin next door, a deputy chief of police named Chet Heyman was trying to sleep. He heard loud voices. He heard someone say, "Good night," over and over, like they were trying to push people out of the room. Then he heard furniture being moved. Then a loud thud. The kind of sound a body makes when it hits something hard. Chet called guest services. He pounded on the wall. But it was already too late. When Turkish authorities searched cabin 962, they found a room in chaos. Drawers open, items scattered. In the bathroom, small drops of blood on the carpet and a towel. On the bed, 2 bloodstains, each about 2 centimeters long. The blood belonged to George. He was bleeding before he ever reached that balcony. On the balcony, a chair had been moved. It sat right next to the railing, close enough for someone to climb up. Marks on the railing showed where fingers had gripped the metal. Below, on the lifeboat canopy, more blood. Investigators could not tell if George fell, jumped, or was pushed. But here is what broke their hearts. The balcony railing was high, too high for a simple accident. And the blood inside the cabin meant George was already hurt. Someone hurt him. Or something went terribly wrong before he went over that railing. The FBI brought in polygraph examiners. Jennifer passed. The casino manager, Lloyd Botha, passed. But Josh Askin failed. Then investigators found a videotape. On it, 3 young men were joking, laughing. One of them said, "We gave him a lesson in paragliding without a parachute." Think about that. A man is missing, presumed dead. His blood is everywhere. And someone thought that was funny. When the FBI interviewed the 4 young men, Josh Askin and Zach Rosenberg refused to answer questions. They invoked the Fifth Amendment. They would not testify against themselves. Greg Rosenberg, however, spoke. He said the event was not an accident. He said something crazy happened that night. And he promised the truth would come out eventually. Then, in December 2019, Greg Rosenberg was murdered. His killer has never been found. 2 deaths. Same night. Same group of friends. No arrests. No charges. No explanations. George's parents never stopped fighting. They offered $100,000 for information, but the family's relationship with Jennifer fell apart. She accepted a settlement from the cruise line. $1 million. To George's parents, that felt like a betrayal. They believed she should have refused the money, should have kept fighting alongside them. Jennifer said she remembered almost nothing from after 2:30 a.m. She did not recall being found in the hallway. She did not recall the wheelchair. She remarried years later. She does charity work in George's memory. But the Smith family could never look at her the same way again. The FBI closed the case. Accident, they said. Not enough evidence. But how do you call it an accident when a man's blood is found in 2 places, 20 years later? No body. No justice. No peace. That is the worst part of this story. Not the blood. Not the videotape. Not the failed polygraph. The worst part is that someone out there knows exactly what happened inside cabin 962. And they have said nothing. George Smith was 26 years old. He loved his family. He loved his wife. He never got to take over his father's liquor store. He never got to have children. He never got to grow old. All of that was taken from him on a cruise ship in the Aegean Sea. And the sea kept his body. But it should not keep the truth. If this story moved you, share it. Someone out there knows something. And maybe, just maybe, they are listening right now.